Number 16. The pyramid shows the transfer of energy through an ecosystem. Using the pyramid, how much energy will be available to the third order consumer? So we're looking at a basic energy pyramid. So your bottom level is always your producer, always has the greatest amount of energy. And then we have our primary consumers, secondary consumers, and tertiary consumers. Now, you could use your Desmos calculator, or since we're looking at 10,000 and 1,000, the next one up, that's Coyote there, we could just shave off a zero, and that leads us to 100 kilojoules for the Coyote. And then for our tertiary consumer there, that Bear, we're going to shave off another one. So that leaves us with 10 kilojoules for the Bear. Now, you already have in this PowerPoint some other information about trophic levels. You can always go back and refer to that. But remember with the pyramids can be of energy to show you how much energy is passed from one level to the other. It's 10%. So you can see a little bit of that in both of these pictures. You could also have a numbers pyramid where it shows you relative numbers of organisms at each level, or a biomass pyramid that will show you the amount of living tissue available for consumption at each level. Number 17. Slugs are slimy, snail-like nocturnal organisms that often gather closely beneath rocks. Based on these characteristics, the slugs most likely gather together, A, to remain dry. Why would a slug want to remain dry? They're slimy. A's out. B, to forage for food. So if they're hunting for food and they're all together, then that probably is going to increase competition. So B's out. C, for protection from predators. Maybe if they're all huddled together, then they all have an equal chance of surviving. Or D, for prevention of disease. So we've known for a while now that the further apart you are from each other, the less likely it is that you are to catch a disease. But the closer you are together, the more likely it is that you're to catch a disease. So the answer for this one is C. Number 18, evolution question. The house mouse evolved into a separate subspecies less than 250 years after its introduction to the Faroe Islands, which are located in the North Atlantic. It's probably really cold there. Which best describes the development of the Faroe Islands house mouse subspecies? So when you're thinking about the production of a subspecies, does that mean that your species are converging together in convergent evolution? Are they just evolving at the same pace? Is it a coevolution where they're depending on each other so they have to evolve together? Or is it a diverging situation? So this is a diverging situation because we're creating a subspecies. So there's some reason that they're different from the mainland. Maybe it's a camo thing that maybe it's the ability to get away from predators some other way. So I've included some other pictures here to kind of show you these patterns of evolution. Including the divergent. So if you look at the bottom left-hand corner, A, we see that parent species and then it divides to two. So that would be divergent evolution. B, we see the two parent species seeming to converge together. So that's convergent evolution. And that's like the shark and the dolphin that share similar characteristics because they live in the similar environment. And then parallel evolution, when you have organisms, let's say in some type of symbiotic relationship with each other. Number 19, which processes are responsible for the stages of transpiration in plants? So our choices are absorption, cohesion, and evaporation. Now, if I were writing this, I would change up a couple of words. Well, first we have absorption through the roots. So a little bit of concentration gradient going on there. And then in this plant going up, we can't see inside of it, but we know there's internal tubing called xylem and phloem, and that water is traveling up. So if I were writing this, I would put cohesion and adhesion. And then as the top part here, the water evaporates from the leaves of plants, and that helps to pull the water on up through the stems. So that water evaporating from the leaves of plants, again, if I were writing this, instead of evaporation, I would put transpiration. So a couple of other pictures here. So the leaf anatomy here, it's on the bottom side of the leaf are the stoma or the stomata, and these are the pores through which the water evaporates. And then we can see inside the leaf this vascular bundle of the xylem that carries the water, and phloem carries the food of photosynthesis. And then we see another cutout over here to the right showing you the xylem carrying the water and the phloem carrying the products of photosynthesis, not in one direction from the roots upward, but in two directions. So from the leaves outward. And then we also see capillary action and adhesion. So the force of adhesion causing capillary action. Now, we've got some questions here that are called cluster questions, and I'm going to give you some more of these to practice. A cluster question is just having a particular set of data. And in this one, there are two pieces of data. There's table 1 and figure 1, which is on the next slide. And you will have multiple questions about this one piece of data or these two pieces of data. So it's not that it's not any more complicated, but you could have between 2 to 6 questions in what are called the cluster questions. All right, so table 1, and then 2. All right, so it says, which pair of organisms is most likely autotrophs? And it says to use table 1. All right, so autotrophs, we know what an autotroph is. An autotroph is a producer, which means it makes its own food. So I know that producers need to have chloroplast. So I look, and X and Y both have chloroplast. And is that a choice? Yes, it is. D. Organism X and organism Y are most likely autotrophs because they contain the chloroplast. The researcher did not find any specialized cells in organism X because it is. Now, you could use table 1 and go back to table 1, but I don't think you need it. So if you don't have any specialized cells, is it because it has cilia for locomotion? It has a protective cell wall. It does not produce chitin, or it's unicellular. Well, we've had a question similar to this in the past. It doesn't have any specialized cells because it is single-celled. It's unicellular. Moo. She's pacing back and forth like a wild cat out in the savannah somewhere. Okay, use figure 1. Which description best identifies the kingdoms that are most closely related? So before we even go back to that, Moo, what are you doing? You crazy? She's just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, which is she's up to no good. So before we even flip back to this figure 1, and sorry I didn't make a fancy hyperlink back to question number 22, but just to remember the way these cladograms and phylogenetic genetic trees work. The closer you are on the tree, the closer you are to being related to each other. So our choices are Protista and fungi because they have the most characteristics present. Fungi and Animalia because they share the most similar characteristics. Plantae and Protista because they share the same method of obtaining nutrients. Or Bacteria and Archaea because they have the fewest shared characteristics with other kingdoms. All right, so if I'm looking at this right off the bat, I see that fungi and animalia are the closest to each other, so it probably means that they're closest related. So let me check. Fungi and animalia, right there they are, and I don't need to go past anything to find out that number 22 is B. Let me go check on this crazy cat. I'll be back.